So, what's up, guys? How's it going? Season 2 of the Steve Walter Photo Podcast. I haven't given this one an actual title. I think I was going to call it something topics. Talking topics. Talking topics,
yeah.
So it's kind of like Tuesday tips. Talking topics. Yeah. Talking topics with Steve Walter Photo. And today I have with me Hello Me Films. Introduce yourself, guys.
JJ, you want to start?
Yeah. Which camera should I address, Steve?
You can address that one.
Middle camera? All right.
Hi, guys. My name's JJ. I'm co-owner of Hello Me Films along with my buddy John. I started video production back in high school. Final 2 years of high school, I kind of jumped into it, learned a few things, started editing some stuff in iMovie, and through that, I met this guy who was helping me along the way with that.
We met at a movie theater, which is kind of ironic.
Ooh, he was my boss.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was his boss for a year.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Do you still hold on to that? Like, yo, I used to be your boss.
Oh, yeah. Well, at one point, we both...
He's still my boss.
You have seniority, right? Yeah, nice.
So at one point, we were bored and we switched clothes. So he wore my manager outfit.
Oh, yeah.
And people still didn't know. They were just like, oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah, sure. You have the tag on, so I'm going to give you that power. That's how it works. That's simple.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And then introduce yourself, sir.
So my name is John Depp. I go by a bunch of different things.
Tulski. I call you Tulski.
Yeah, doesn't matter what you call me. But I'm a co-owner of Hello Me Films with JJ. I've been doing it for quite some time. And we're going to go over how we came about that name because I know a lot of people ask.
I don't even think I know.
You don't?
Might as well,
Wait.
might as well too.
Yeah, so let's just do that. Where did the name... I think I thought I asked you and got an answer and forgot it, but so where did
Hello Me Films? We were going to be Little Tubby Productions.
Little Tubby Productions? It's fantastic.
Yeah, we went through a lot of logo and like name design.
Okay.
Because we didn't want to be, no offense, another name.
I get
photo.
It. Dude, trust me, there's no offense taken. I realize that, naming your company after yourself is just, it's weird. And it's also, it doesn't allow for the expansion. It doesn't allow for more than one person.
Although I really do like Will Tell Mally Films because WTF.
WTF, the acronym is there.
Will, shout out to you, bud.
Yeah, so go ahead and check out WTF. Just to have those letters is nice.
Yeah, it's cool.
My initials aren't that cool. So Little Tubby Films evolved because you didn't want that single name, right? So you didn't want to be John Depp, you didn't want to be JJ Duran.
And we have the same initials, so we were like, oh, is it JD Films, John and JJ Films? And like, we kind of just went through like a million different ideas, and none of them were like, this is us.
I swear it was probably like a solid week of names and drawings.
Yep. More than that, probably at least a month.
To discover something amazing that came up with the name. What was it, John?
So we're going through like old videos. It was actually of my family, and it was an old video camera, which we'll talk about how we kind of started.
Yeah.
It was an old camera, and I was looking through footage, and my brother's gonna kill me for this, but he was younger, and he took the camera, and this was way before like selfie videos and even like selfies were a thing.
Yeah.
And he kind of flipped the camera on himself just said like, hello me, like, and something else. And like, and I was just like, it kind of just like hit.
It just clicked.
Yeah.
Like think about what we represent, and it's like, we want to let the clients be the stars of the movie. So doing short films or doing promotional videos or doing weddings, usually they're the star of the film. So
it's them.
It's me. It's you.
So hello me.
Hi.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. So is your brother that just did this stupid little one-off, right?
It was like it was the most innocent thing ever, and it was just like,
you're like, yo, that's great.
And like now you see brands like Hello Fresh, and you're like, yo, they stole our idea.
Hello Fresh.
Yeah,
you're like, what's up, Fresh?
Yeah.
So hello me, right?
Yeah.
Like, hello me. I'm watching the video. I'm like, oh, hello me.
That's me. Yeah.
I like that.
I'm watching my wedding
I didn't know
video.
that. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So anytime I thought of hello me, I always thought of the drawing a blank. Not Metallica. What was the other band? The guy from the
Megadeth.
thing. Megadeth.
Hello,
where he said,
me.
"Hello, me."
Meet the real me.
Right. So that was what always hit my mind. But I'm like, why would they? Are they super Megadeth? But you've never ever brought up
that
Megadeth.
song.
But you do, right? It's good.
Yeah, it's a great
catchy
song.
too.
And I hear it, and I'm like, oh, that's my
Yeah,
brand.
what's up, dude?
What's up?
Yeah. Shout out to Megadeth.
Yeah,
Right.
shout out to Megadeth.
Shout out Megadeth.
Yo,
Yeah, we're just shouting everyone
Sponsor
out
us.
here.
Yeah, dude. So that's cool. It's interesting, and that's a good point, right? Because when you think about kind of starting, you have to establish a brand, right? And I chose to establish myself as the brand. But then there were times when I would think about it. Like I was saying before, like it doesn't allow for much expansion. And that could be good or bad, right? It could be good in the sense that, like, hey, I want you to know that you're hiring me, right?
Right,
This is Steve Walter.
You're the name. You're the face.
If someone else shows up, then you're not getting
Steve
that.
Walter.
There's authenticity is kind of removed,
Right.
Right.
Like if I show up at one of your photo gigs, and you're like, that's not Steve
It's
Walter.
like, this is John. You're like, that's not Steve. Wait a second.
Get
Hold
this
on.
dude out of here.
Versus having a company name, right? That you could, like, if it was just SWP, right?
Yep.
Then someone from, hey, I'm from SWP. Hey, I'm Mark from SWP. It's like, oh, cool. Hey, man, how's it going?
what's up?
Yeah.
And I could show this person to shoot the way that I'd shoot, to edit the way that I edit, like all of those things to kind of encompass that brand. But at the end of the day, I don't mind that it's me, but I did definitely struggle with that. I tried using Rhett Laws for a while, because Rhett Laws is Swalter backwards. Swalter is
Yeah.
Steve Walter, so I had Rhett Laws for a while, but then everyone thought I was a lawyer. And I'm like,
makes
no,
sense,
dude, I'm not a lawyer. Like, I get it, laws is in there.
Can we talk about bird law?
Yeah, dude, bird law. Bird law is very intricate law. But yeah, so branding is a big thing, and it makes sense and it's obvious to start with what you know and what you do yourself. It's like, this is me. So I like that you guys came up with that.
It was a struggle.
But I also think it's
It was.
still a struggle, because like I do find times that John and I, and sometimes Molly, are just kind of going back and forth about what our branding should be, if it should change, do we need an emblem,
Right.
Should it be just letters? And part of me thinks that the look of it is very I don't know, it doesn't hit where we're headed,
Yeah.
which is more towards business background, real estate.
Yeah.
But coming back to it, it's what we make it. So people
Yeah.
see what we make. So whatever logo we have, we are making that what it is. So
Our tagline is professionally fun.
Right.
So
I was just about to ask you to say, what's the tagline?
So we'll go to a shoot, a wedding, anything, and we'll make it the most fun we can make it. We'll dance with you. We'll hang out with you. We'll party with you. I have a thing where I'm dancing with the bride's moms or the family, and it just became kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Right, and the logo definitely represents that, right?
Yeah.
It's fun, it's playful, right? It's not too serious. But obviously, at the end of the day, if you look at someone's work and you can then see that, they know how to use a camera, right?
Yeah.
They're able to shoot this, and that's an interesting point, right? When you think about branding in general, are you branding your look or are you branding yourselves? And I think it makes sense that you would brand yourselves before you would brand your look.
Yeah.
Because it's not to sit and say that everything you shoot is fun and playful and neon and bright colors. It's that's who we are, and here's the content.
I mean, it portrays in our
that
work,
we create,
and it comes out in our work. But we also have a serious side.
Well, I mean, the serious side is the work itself.
Yeah.
Like when you see what we create,
right?
You then say,
okay,
all right, these guys are definitely professional, but if you see the behind the scenes, you'd say that we are definitely fun.
Right. Well, and I think that's, and I brought this up, I'm sure on another podcast before, is that people want to hire you.
Yep.
They don't want to hire necessarily what you can do, right? Because there's so many people, and we can kind of dive into that, but there's so many people that do what we do, right? Which is create content, create media for brands and for individuals. So there's so many people. So why would I choose you over someone else? And it's because I enjoy working with you.
Yeah.
If you guys produce fantastic work, but you guys are jerks to work with, why would I want to?
Right.
Why do I want to continue to hire you? And that's something that I keep in my mind too, right? Because I want to have a good time. I want to be serious about the work, right? I want to get it done, but I want to have fun doing it as much as you can. Sometimes you got to go in there, you shoot the job, and then you're out. And it is what it is.
Unfortunately, a lot of people in the industry that produce great work, but they're just not good people.
But at the same time, I think
it's hard.
I think it's the line of work that we're in. You are the one who is embracing your creative side, and it's your direction. And then sometimes, if I'm giving direction,
Yeah.
I may come off a little abrasive. But,
Sure.
But that's where John's here to correct me.
Balance each other.
Yeah, we definitely do balance.
He's like, yo, dude, shut up. No, it doesn't matter. We'll just do whatever we're gonna do. Yeah.
Yo, I want to do this. Probably not a good idea.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, no. Let's tone that back a little bit.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, do it.
I was like, that's kind of a good segue in terms of starting up and what you need and what you don't need.
This guy with segues. I was literally thinking, I was like,
Yeah.
so let's talk about how you started. And you're like, hold on, segue.
Let me talk about how we started.
So get into it. Yeah, starting out, right? Video production company, shooting videos. Part of the things that we wanted to talk about were today, some of the things that we wanted to talk about, and any questions that you guys have. I'm definitely gonna. Oh, love the coffee cup. Yeah, dope. Thanks. It's.
They're talking about mine because it says
no,
dad on it.
She's talking about mine.
Not even a dad, but
Definitely talking about this mug.
I know who it is.
Yeah.
It's great. Looks like a lens. It's nice. It's 24-105. Never owned this lens, but it's the second version is apparently very good. But anyway,
Pretty solid starter lens if we're going to talk about starting gear.
so questions that you guys have, I'll be paying attention. But get into starting out. Tell me about starting out.
Yeah, so we in college. I went to not really film school, but I took a video production curriculum.
Yeah.
It was a communications degree, video production, all that stuff. So obviously you need a camera and you need that. And I just remember my dad actually was like, hey, have you heard about they're taking still cameras and shooting videos on them?
Oh.
And I remember you talked to Will about it. It was like Philip Bloom was like the pioneer
Yes.
of that. And I was like, that's the dumbest idea in the world.
Why would you do that?
Why would you take a film or a still camera and shoot video on it? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And then I bought one.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And you're like, oh, wait a second. Actually, I think I do want that.
Yeah. So
that video looks really good.
Yeah. So I went out, I bought one, and I was like, yo, JJ, we gotta make videos. We were just shooting skits at the time.
Yeah.
It was like, just shoot whatever you can, and didn't even matter where it was, when it was, who was in it. We would get our friends to come
Just get
in
your friends,
and just
right?
shooting things. And then about a year later, he bought one,
Yeah.
and we were just like, all right, we have all this gear, let's do something with it.
Not that it matters so much of what it was, but what was
Yeah.
the first camera that you had?
It's a Canon 60Ds.
60Ds.
Basically
Yeah.
a T2i, but a little bit
And
upgraded.
they had the flip out.
Oh, yeah.
Right, it had the flip out screen because
Well,
that
I
was
think that's why we chose it.
That's the huge transition from a
was
video
huge.
camera to that is I have the articulating screen. I need
because
that.
that's what traditional video cameras would have, right?
Yes.
You'd flip out the screen.
Yeah.
You'd be able to see instead of using the viewfinder.
And I think a big key to this is all right, so John's the first person to buy the equipment that we need or that we want.
Yeah.
And I usually follow up after. And, it's a big risk to spend money like that on a camera. And thankfully I had John who buys these things for his personal needs.
Yeah.
And we're able to explore these cameras and test their boundaries.
Yeah.
And find out that this can be used as a tool for a business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where I think we made a music video and we designed a logo. And then we were willing to take the risk because I bought the same camera and we were like,
He owns that camera. What's up?
yeah, we both bought this. I bought the 60D right after, and I was like, dude, we should shoot weddings.
Yeah, we should do fun.
Dude, let's do some
things.
work.
Yeah, it's work, right?
Yeah, because we're using this equipment to just shoot skits all the time.
Yeah.
Let's make money.
and
Is what it came down
Yeah,
to.
we wanted to be able to buy more
At the end
equipment.
of the day,
Really,
it's a business, right?
no, but really, what we wanted the money for was to just put it back in and buy
Reinvest.
more equipment.
Yeah.
It wasn't to put money into our pockets, and I think that's where you get the energy to continue to take these jobs on and go, I'm not going to put this money in my pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to instead reinvest.
Yep. Get a better
And-
lens, whatever it is, stabilization, all that stuff.
Right. So
Yeah.
honestly, we started off with no money, and all the money that we got, we just
put
reinvested
it back in, yeah.
into equipment.
And
That's cool.
I've known you for a couple of years now, at least 6 years.
6. Yeah, over 6.
And I know you're a huge gear person. Just new things come out, and that's kind of rubbing off on him. I'm like, yo, this new camera came out, and he's
Yeah.
like, tell me about it. And I'll be like, I already bought it.
Wait, so it's funny. If you look in the lives conversation, there's
Yeah.
Tyler. Tyler actually purchased the 60D that I owned,
That's awesome.
and-
yeah.
and he's commenting in there right now.
Yeah.
And he's been practicing photography with that same camera, and that camera's
bulletproof.
It's 10, I think it's almost 10 years old at this point.
It's a
And
good camera.
It's still a great camera.
Pretty bulletproof.
Yeah.
It's a good camera. And what's interesting, right, when you think about that, because, what is it, gear acquisition syndrome, right, where you get into this world of, oh, I need this, I need this, I need this. And the reality is that
if I get this.
is that you don't, right? I'm going to be better. I'm going to shoot better films
Yeah.
if I use this. And the quality of my work is going to be better if I get this camera or if I get this microphone, or microphones is debatable, but this camera or this type of light or this specific. And the reality is that that's never been true.
It's almost opposite.
It's really, I can tell you right here, it's really the story you can tell.
Yeah, every time.
It's whatever equipment you have on you, and I'll tell you right now, most of the time it's been an iPhone. For the past couple weeks, I've been shooting with an iPhone,
Yeah.
and I've been making some short stories with an iPhone. Now, it's relative to the work. Like, no one's paying me for that work.
Sure.
But I'm able to create a story with my iPhone.
Yeah. That's all you need.
And it's really that's the direction that
I mean,
you should go.
right now this is being recorded on an iPhone and an iPad,
Yeah.
right?
Multiple
I've got a little LED light over here, right? Inexpensive light, and then fairly inexpensive lights over here. You don't need a lot of expensive equipment, and I would argue that this setup looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks fine. We're just kind of shooting in the back of the studio here. There's no, I wouldn't call this a high-end production, but it's going to look better than if I just set up a phone. So that's one thing to keep in mind too, right? Is specifically the apps that I'm using. This app called Filmic Pro.
Yep.
Love that app.
And for those that don't know, Filmic Pro is awesome. It basically opens up the capabilities of the video shooting
Yeah.
on the iPhone or the iPad.
It takes an automatic camera and it makes it very manual.
Yes, you get manual. That's a perfect way to put it. You get manual settings, not only in your shutter speed, things like that, your ISO, but also in your color
Yeah. Yeah.
and your picture
Huge.
profile.
It pushes it to the boundaries.
Yeah.
I was shooting a video for someone, and I didn't open up Filmic Pro. I did it through the camera app,
Yeah.
and it's so much harder because it's doing auto exposure. I was
Yeah.
trying to clone an individual and have him in the frame a bunch of times.
Yeah.
So I needed the frame to not change at all.
Yep.
And so I found that you can lock the exposure, but in Filmic Pro, all that stuff,
It's
all those
all
controls,
there.
right
Just
there.
Yeah. And so that's a good point, right? When I think about this is, okay, so how do I know when I've got my 60D and I get to a point where I say, I need a new camera, right? And the way that I've always approached it was, once you hit the boundaries, or I shouldn't even say the limitations, right?
Yeah.
When you're like, hey, here's what I want to do, and I can't because this piece of equipment is literally holding me back.
Yep.
That's when I suggest to people, that's when you should upgrade a camera body, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That specifically camera body, right? Because a lens really isn't going to change.
No.
Right.
Light hasn't changed in forever, so a lens really isn't going to change all that much.
Yeah.
It's really how you're capturing that and how you're processing that with the camera, right? So anytime someone asks me, oh, I want to do this upgrade to the camera, should I do this? Should I do it? It's like, no, why? What boundaries are you hitting right now?
Yeah.
Where people are like, oh, I want to shoot full frame. It's like, do you need to shoot full frame?
Yeah.
Because most video cameras are not full frame, and they look awesome. They actually are fantastic. All the Black Magic stuff, they don't have a full frame sensor. Most of those are super small,
But I
Super
also-
16 or Super 35 sensor, right?
Micro Four Thirds. All
A
that.
lot,
Yeah.
a lot of people jump to resolution and almost like TVs. They're like, oh, I need the 6K TV. Like, of
course.
dude, we're not even there yet.
No.
I'm still shooting everything in 1080.
1080.
And like, it looks delicious to me, and I think it's, if it's gonna please me, it's really gonna please a lot of my clients.
Yeah, for sure.
And I love the fact that you're shooting in 2K or 4K.
2K, yep. So just
each-
above 1080.
yeah, and it's going to look great.
Yeah.
What it allows you to do is crop a little bit more into the frame if you want to make some cuts. But overall, I'm pretty sure most of us are watching it in 1080.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. 1080. I mean, that's the way most content is delivered. Like
Yeah.
if you're receiving 4K content, that's awesome. That's great. But the reality is for the creator, right? For us to shoot 4K is ridiculous. So for those just kind of chiming in, 4K is one of those things where it seems great on paper and you're like, cool, I got all this resolution.
buzzwords.
I have all that. Yeah, it's 4K.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh, well, if I'm shooting 4K, right, I want to shoot in a better profile. And not to get too technical, but I want to shoot in a higher quality, right?
Yeah.
So then now that 1080 file has, quadrupled, right? And on top of that, like if I want to have the better profile, the better bit rate, all of that stuff.
Yep.
Now this 4K file is huge. So now I need a computer that can handle all of that. I need hard drives that can store all of that.
Yep.
You need to export all, like it's not just in the camera. It then becomes this whole chain.
The workflow for us has changed so drastically by upgrading our camera.
Yes,
so like,
right.
So like moving that one step,
Yep.
we realized, oh my goodness, I'm now limited on my equipment that I used to edit. The footage that we used for wedding, we were shooting in 24 frames per second. We have now started shooting in 60, so we can slow them down.
120.
And then
It's
going to
getting
120.
crazy.
And now these projects that were once less than 100 gigs are
400 gigs.
400 gigs. And now you're invested into hard drives,
Yeah.
which you buy one hard drive, guess what? You need
You need
another
two,
one.
at
You need
least.
2 more.
Yeah.
So you can back up that stuff. So now we're just, you're putting more money into the equipment just because you wanted to upgrade your camera.
Right.
So you got to be ready. You really got to be ready.
And that's a good point. And one thing too to mention is not all 4K is created equal, right? So the 4K out of a phone is different from the 4K out of a Canon camera, out of a Blackmagic camera, out of a Red or an Aria, like all that stuff. Like 4K is different, right? There's different compressions. But yeah, that's a good point. Like you want to upgrade this one component, be prepared to upgrade everything else.
Yeah.
And that's nuts, man. But no, I think it's a good point because a lot of people think that their work will improve if they shoot in even something as simple as, oh, I'm going to shoot in 120. I'm going to shoot in 1080, 120, basically meaning slow motion, right? So you shoot at a higher frame rate so you can slow it down, right? So it slows everything down. And it seems like that's been the trend, right? Is I'm going to shoot in at least 120, 60 for a while, 60 was okay, and then everyone's like, oh, I can do 120, I can do 240,
right.
and it just slows everything down. And what I've seen a lot lately are these videos that are completely slow motion.
Overused.
Every single cut is slow motion, and it's just like, why are you doing that?
Well, I mean,
don't do that.
we've shot stuff where we'll do everything a lot in 120 because like you guys get excited.
Yeah,
you're like,
for
oh,
sure.
my camera can do this. This
Yeah.
is great. It looks so cool.
Yeah.
and then you have to
A
step.
kiss in slow motion.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
Then you have to step
But
back and be
that
like,
one kiss in slow
Yeah.
motion is great. Everything else can be in 24.
Dude,
But then slow it down.
Flip it, record it, flip it back.
Yeah.
Done.
That's the best piece.
Yeah.
The best piece of advice I can give you is don't record something in that the whole way through.
No. And again, going back to the workflow, it's just gonna chew up your batteries, right? Because your camera's working harder.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's going to use more energy, right? Because it has to
Sensor's moving
record more.
faster, yeah.
The sensor's going to heat up more, etc.
cards are filling up.
Your cards are filling up, so it becomes that. But it's knowing that, hey, I only need this moment. Do it with intention, I guess is my point.
Yeah.
Do it
Yeah,
with
of
intention.
course.
Like, I need this moment in slow motion. I don't need the whole thing in slow motion.
Nope.
I'll be honest with you. I just actually argued with John. We shot a play for St. Rita Elementary School.
Yeah.
And I was like, John, I want to shoot this in 60. He's like, why do you want to shoot this in 60? Are you kidding me? Like, we're going to fill these cards up. Granted, now we're at a point where we can kind of gauge the amount of time.
Yeah.
We shot the whole play in 60
Yeah.
because I knew there were going to be some parts. I never saw a play before.
Right, so you
There's gonna be
can't
some parts I
anticipate.
want to slow it down. And I also knew we had 128 gigabyte
Right.
SD cards, so we weren't going to fill them up with the amount of time that we were shooting. But
Yeah.
so that was a segue.
But it's doing it right. It's doing it with intention. You have a conversation about like, hey, we're going to shoot in 60 because there's going to be moments that I can't necessarily anticipate. It's different when you're shooting a wedding, right? You can
Yeah.
if you
Yes.
shot 2 weddings, you've shot them all.
Yeah.
I'm making that as a very blanket statement, but basically, most weddings, the structure of the day is just about the same. So you can anticipate those moments of, hey, I know this kiss is coming up, let me shoot in slow motion.
Yeah.
Or I know that we're going to be on the dance floor at this point, or I know there's going to be intros, I know there's going to be speeches. You can anticipate for what you're doing. No different than if you want to set up lighting, or if you need to record audio, or slow motion.
Yeah, I would agree.
So it's definitely doing it with intention. So back to what we were saying, just to kind of finalize at least the thoughts in my head. An iPhone is a fantastic tool.
Yeah.
Yes.
It works wonderfully. You can get things. So we kind of have this little prop right out here, but it's basically a stabilization for your phone, right?
Yeah.
And this has been a huge trend again. Electronic stabilizers.
Yeah,
Because-
I would say
Let's talk about that.
yeah. So
Yeah, let's-
stabilization has been the key to probably 2017, 2016.
Yeah.
But this piece right here, this Dji Osmo 2
Yep.
for the iPhone, we purchased a DJI Osmo, not the stabilizer for the iPhone, but the one that actually came with its own camera.
Right, the original.
The original.
And we noticed that the quality of the camera is pretty much identical to
iPhone.
an iPhone camera.
yeah,
And
right.
the cost difference, that one was $600
Yeah.
and we needed extra batteries to replace all the time with that. This $130.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it wasn't our main camera because we're at that point where we're shooting multiple weddings, but
Yeah.
it wasn't our main camera, but it was definitely useful for some shots, like circling a slow dance or something like that.
Right.
It was stable. It was
stable.
gorgeous.
Right.
But I also noticed that, like, even with shooting at 60 or 120, when you slow down a clip, it's pretty much stable when you're doing that as well.
Yeah.
But this thing is definitely a great piece of equipment to invest some money in for a beginner,
Yeah.
for music videos, for
Yes.
most things that you can use it for.
It gives you a whole nother perspective. So you're not just on a tripod, a monopod.
Right.
You now have a tool where you can get creative with the angles, and it's small.
Yeah.
The phone is small. It's not taking up a lot of room.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic tool.
Right, going back to that thought of, hey, if you're kind of starting out and you're shooting videos for your friends, right? Call it music videos or just skits like you guys were doing, right? Little bits. The ability to take it, stabilization is built into the phones. That's digital stabilization, right? This is actual stabilization, meaning, or actually, no, there is optical stabilization in the phones now if
Yeah.
you're paying for a
Enough.
higher end phone,
Yeah,
right? But this is going to give you actual stabilization. So everything just looks a lot cleaner, right? And again, doing it with intention. Like if you're doing this chase scene, right, and you need there to be some movement, so that way it creates this mood of, oh no, there's franticness, this is crazy. Cool. You wouldn't use this super buttery smooth shot, like, because it would conflict with it, right? But knowing that when you need most shots smooth, get one of the $130 for one of these things is fantastic.
I would say if we just started today,
Yeah.
this would be one of our first purchases,
Yeah.
and I would use this for all the real estate walkthroughs that we do.
Yeah.
Provided it's the right time of day, because lighting is the
Yes.
next thing that you got to keep in mind when you're shooting with these things.
With an iPhone or that Osmo, right? So lighting is, for me, that's where I geek out the hardest by far. Like even the fact that like we're just doing this simple little thing, I'm like, I gotta light it.
Yeah.
Like, I need some lighting, right? Because it really does just take it kind of to another place, right? I don't want to say the next level because everyone says the next level. It's not the next level. It's just a different place, right?
kids say.
We could have, kids say that. I could turn off these lights and it would look fine. But having this light
But
and
it
this
wouldn't
light,
be a Steve Walter production.
yeah, it wouldn't be. Come on, they gotta make it crispy, real crispy, real nice.
I'd be offended.
But it's also because I know what these devices are capable of, and more importantly, I know what they lack, and they're not good in lower light.
That's
right?
a big thing. Knowing what your gear can and can't do
Yes.
is huge. If you know, okay, this camera is not good in low light, probably don't use it in low light.
Don't use it in low light, right? Or knowing, hey, I'm buying this camera for a specific reason. Well, why are you buying that camera? I would never buy that camera. It's like, well, I'm buying it because I'm shooting it in low light. The Sony A7S2, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Or A7S. And then if you say to someone, it's like, that's why I bought it. It's like, oh, it's only 12 megapixels. It's like, yeah, okay, doesn't matter. It's actually beautiful in low light.
Yeah.
That's why I got it. It makes perfect sense.
And they're going back to the industry buzzwords.
Yeah.
People hear,
That's
oh,
it.
this phone has 400 megapixels.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the sensor's
Super tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super little tiny little sensor.
Little tiny sensor.
Needs a lot of light to look really good. So
Yeah.
it's thinking about that kind of stuff. So it's never been about the gear. It never will be about the gear. It's always going to be about the story, right? It's always going to be about the intention, right? The purpose. I was having this conversation with Matt the other day. Where you're talking about, I was sharing some images with him and I was getting some feedback, right? And I was just like, hey, what do you think of this? He's like, it's cool, it's all right, but like, what's the purpose? Like, what's the purpose of it? And I looked at it and I was like, oh man, I thought it was a cool image. It's like, but then I thought more about it and I was like, yeah, what is the purpose? Like, what is it? Like, it's just cool. It's just fine. Like, and it goes back to purpose and story for me. We're kind of these two things. It's the same thing.
This is the conversation we have all
Really?
the time.
So,
like,
so
yeah, go ahead.
John recently edited a video.
I was going to bring this up too. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, this is literally every single
He's
time we
calling them out right now.
Every
This is
single time
every
we
day.
edit. Every single
Yeah.
time we edit. If I edit or if John edits, when I'm watching, I always ask him the question, like, why did you do that? What was the purpose of this?
Yeah.
Did that tell the story that you're trying to tell? Or did you just kind of just toss it in because you didn't know what to do? And
Did you just do it?
And that's where I think that, yin and yang here, like this guy can crank out work.
Yeah.
But I literally analyze everything he does.
Yeah.
And he does the same thing for me. So it's
Yeah.
like, thankfully.
Yeah, why did you do that?
Yeah, thankfully
Yeah.
we worked at Apple because we just give each other feedback all the time on everything. So honestly, one of the other things that I would say if you're someone who's creative and wants to embrace your creative side and start a business, is find someone who is going to be real with you and tell you what's good and what's not good.
Yeah, that's huge. Being able to have support and encouragement is great, right? If you have a mom for that, that's fantastic.
You always talk about the yes man. I don't want
a yes man.
You want someone that's going to say, dude, that sucks.
I want someone that's going to challenge me, and not just. And I say this all the time. Not just someone's going to say, dude, that sucks. Okay, why does it suck?
Right.
Because it sucking is one thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like I can take that. Like it sucks. Like you don't like it. Okay, cool. It gave you some emotional reaction. Why? Why does it suck?
Mm-hmm.
Or, dude, that's fire. Okay. Why is it fire?
Yeah.
That's lit. I see it all the time. And you know, comments will just be little icons of fire. And it's like, that's cool. Thank you for the support. I love that, right?
Yes. Feels good. It's almost like when my mom and my dad watched my video.
Yes.
And they're like, that was an amazing video. And I'm like, that made me feel good.
Your mom's never going to be like, I hated that. Well,
at this point, probably
maybe.
not.
Right.
But
I mean, I'd hope not. But
Yeah,
maybe you do want, depending upon your parenting type, right? Maybe you do want someone to be like, that was nice, but...
Yeah.
And then follow up with that, right? Versus the criticism right off the bat and be like, we should have done this, you should have done this, oh, and it was nice. It's like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do it that way.
Yeah.
Start off with the dude, you love this, and then hey, maybe try these things, right? So yeah, I don't want a yes man. Start off with, and you know, when I went to school, I don't know if you guys had that too when you were in school, basically, set your work up on the wall. We sit down in a group and we talk about it. Cool. Hey, what do you guys think of this? Critique it. Right. You would critique it. And it was a really good thing to have that instilled in me so that now when I send work to someone and they say, like, it's cool, but what's its purpose? I can think in my mind, well, here's its purpose. Here's because I was taught to like defend my work, right?
Yeah.
But then also, maybe he's got a point.
Yep.
And to sit and pause and reflect upon that and not take it as a personal thing, right? Because what you want, at least what I want a lot of the times, is a different set of eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say in this line of work that we're in with promotional videos.
Yeah.
And with clients that are normally we're working with people who are marketing with these promotional videos.
Yeah.
That are just looking at, does this sell me?
Yeah.
They're not looking at production value. They're not looking at production. They're not looking at frame rate. They're not looking at slow-mo.
They don't care about any of that.
They have no idea or
the salespeople of the world, right? The salespeople. Yeah, because we're the creatives, and then there's this whole opposite side of this industry, the people that need to market and people that need to sell it.
Yeah. So with working with them, I've probably made, minimum 3 revisions for projects, but sometimes I'm up to 10 revisions. And like, you gotta learn to beat yourself up about this stuff, but also like, this is what it is.
But
like,
accept it.
Yeah, you need to figure out how to be okay with revising something you put your heart and soul into. Multiple times.
Because you have to be able to detach it. It's one thing when it's the video that you're doing for your friends, the music video. You can make it whatever you want, and you'd be like, I love this thing, right? And someone's like, it sucks, and you're like, no, it doesn't, you're an idiot. Like, that's fine. But when it comes down to a client saying like, hey, this is nice, but, can we do this? And then it's having that conversation of, okay, we could do that, and it's going to take X amount of time and potentially X amount of resources and X amount of additional funds, right? Yeah. But at the same time, it's also, well, it wouldn't make sense to do that because of this, and this, right? Yeah. Hey, can we change this color to this color? It's like, well, that wouldn't really make sense because this color is intentionally this color because it does this, and this, and it's having that knowledge. But at the end of the day, if they say, I don't care, do it, you do it.
Yeah.
You do it. And then it's detaching. So when I used to work at the marketing agency, that would happen all the time, where the legal department, right? I would make coupons. I used to make coupons, a whole bunch of coupons. And the legal department would say, hey, we got to include all of this copy. And it's like, okay, cool. It's not going to fit. Doesn't matter. Make it fit. Yeah. Well, we have to include the product. We have to include this. We have to include this. And then you also want to put in all this copy. Doesn't matter. Make it fit. So we'd end up making the copy so tiny because they have to include all this legal stuff that in my mind, I'm like, you just ruined the design. They don't care. Include it because we don't want to get sued.
Right.
Yeah.
So for this coupon, and it's literally when you think about it, it's like for 50 cents off of some muffins, and it's just like, really, we got to put all. It's like, so the font is so small and so tiny with asterisks everywhere, and it's crazy. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I think about the design.
But that's their job.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Your job is to create it. Their job is to not get sued.
There's that balance, right? So with that, I think kind of the point is there's obviously a place for what we do, right? But then there's definitely a place for the opposite side. Now, being your own brand, your own business, you have to be all of that stuff,
Everything.
right? you're everything. Any entrepreneur, right? Well, I don't even want to say entrepreneur. There was a phrase that was coined by, I forget his name, but he, This Week in Photo, he has a podcast. What's his name? Not going to remember it, but he coined the phrase solopreneur or multimediographer. So being able to kind of do all of that stuff. So it's just you guys, right? It's just me. You have to wear multiple hats. Because an entrepreneur, what they might do, the reason why I was trying to clarify that is an entrepreneur might say, hey, I'm going to hire you, I'm going to hire you, I'm going to hire you. I'm going to bring you guys in on this because I don't do that stuff. What I do is I'm the brains, right? That's what I think of when I think of an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Here's what I would say. Like, shout out to you because you really do all this stuff on your own. That's why I'm so proud that I have a partner. You know, like,
that's huge.
John has been there for a lot of the operational stuff. And a lot of the financial decisions are filtered through both of us, but the work has to get done. And I'm full-time at a job, and he's part-time. And he dedicates part of that time to go in and check and evaluate things and adjust things and do a lot of the operational stuff. It is.
Yeah, it's not
That's not the fun stuff. No, running
like footage.
I want to go out and shoot. Yeah, you're sitting around watching progress bars, and it's like, it's watching paint dry.
Yeah.
But it has to get done.
Yeah.
But you need, right,
someone's got to do it.
You need to do it.
This is the part where I say that.
Oh, there it is. Sorry. Frederick Van Johnson. Yes.
There you go.
Thank you, Esteban. Thank you. You listen to TWIP then, I take it. Yeah, Frederick Van Johnson.
What I think is, it's so important to give at least an hour to your business, just solely dedicating planning.
You need to.
And this is how we can grow and how we can flourish. But you know, me and John, at least once a week, we'll go over things that are kind of repetitive. Like, hey, did we send out these invoices? Hey, did we
email this
post,
person?
Yeah, did we email this person? Did we post this on social media?
Right.
Because that's how we continue to get ongoing business. And it's really it's the future. Social media is the future for us, and we have to really think about, all right, do we get a job for next week? No. All right, let's post something on social media. Let's engage the audience, and let's see what we can pull in.
Right.
It's become like a science almost. Like, you post something, you get responses. It's like,
crazy, right?
Yeah, that's weird.
Like, I post, and then someone's like, oh, cool. Like,
hey, you're
doing stuff. Yeah. Oh, awesome. And that's something that, it takes time, right? Like you guys were saying, and you have to balance that, but you have to, and what I've been trying to do more and more is you have to plan that time, right?
Yeah.
Like, I love planning time to like play around with lighting ideas and play around with this concept and this concept, but okay, that's all well and good. If I'm not booking anyone to come in to execute those ideas or pay me for those ideas,
to do it,
what does it matter? Like, I'm doing that because the artist in me is saying do that, right?
And you're gaining knowledge, so it's not a waste of time.
For sure. But it's now saying, well, should I do bookkeeping or should I just play? It's like, I should probably do some bookkeeping. I should probably send out some invoices. I should probably follow up with some emails. I should probably do the things that are going to generate the business that would then fuel and fund that creativity. So I think that's a huge thing, right? And I talked about it with Will when he was on the podcast. At the end of the day, it's a job, right?
It's definitely.
It's a job. Now, I am so thankful and so grateful that this is my job.
Yeah.
It's awesome. This is great. I wouldn't want another job. You put me in a cubicle and I am not good. Like, I don't enjoy it, right? So it's being able to, leverage where you can, but also recognize that, hey, you know what? When it comes to tax time, I don't do taxes. I have no desire. I get so frustrated. I literally get angry. I don't want to be angry. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pay someone else to do it. And the guy that I have does it, he loves it. He's literally like, dude, I love this stuff. I love spreadsheets. I'm like, I hate spreadsheets. This is perfect.
But then he probably doesn't like taking photos.
He doesn't take photos. No.
But then he's like, oh, I'm going to pay you. Yeah.
He's a little, and I remember the first time I was working with him, he was like, oh, cool, here. Like, I was just kind of like, he was getting to know my business and we were just talking about some stuff. And he's like, yeah, cool, let me break it down for you. Literally makes and it was cool watching him doing the keyboard shortcuts to make these. I was like, yo, you're my boy. With all the shortcuts right now, I was like, I'm all about shortcuts. He's like, yeah, you need shortcuts. He's setting up these tables and these cells. I'm like, yes.
But you open up Final Cut in front of him and he's like,
right. So it's kind of the same thing. And I see what he's doing and I was just like, cool, you know what? I want to give you my money because you enjoy this.
Yep.
Why wouldn't I do that, right? And I would hope the same for what we do, right? And saying, like, going back to what we were talking about, why would I hire you? Obviously, if you guys are good guys, I want to hire you. And then if your work follows up your demeanor, right, and your rapport, then it's like, cool, of course, I want to continue to give you guys business. So it's sort of recognizing that passion, and I'm going to tie this back to the social media. And that's how you really are able to share that passion, right? Hopefully people watching now see that,
Yeah. There's some hearts I just saw.
Sock weather wearing bitches. That's it. Oh yeah. Thanks, Will. Totally derailed my thoughts.
He just joined, so he didn't even hear. We shouted you out, Will.
Totally. Oh yeah, he's got multiple shots. Well, let's give him a little wave. Boop, boop.
An actual wave.
So tying that back to, you're right, digital versus an analog wave.
Yeah, analog.
Ew, analog waves, dude. Weird. Why don't you just mail it? So tying that back to getting to know who we are, right? And that's what this is. And the fact that you can do this, it's nuts that we have 6 cameras, right?
Yeah.
Available to us, and the ability to share who we are and what we do, what we're passionate about, our personalities. They fit in our pockets. The fact that this little setup exists is really cool because it's powerful in being able to communicate with people. The fact that we're doing this freaking live. What's up, Will? Raphael. Yeah, Raphael likes to reveal his ankles. Sorry, inside thing. We'll share that. That's another story. But the fact that we're able to do this live, how freaking cool is that? And
I listened to Kim's podcast the other day, and you guys touched upon like too much screen time. But then you were like, yeah, but it's a tool that you can communicate with. Yeah. If you're doing it right, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Like if you're just spending your time on it. Yeah.
Here's the deal. It's about the content that you put out. So is your content good? We'll just continue to put it out, and it will get somewhere, and you'll get reach, and you'll get a lot of people who will tune in and want to be a part of it and start sharing. And that's what I think we do really well is we're now starting to do a lot of these lives or stories on our Instagram or Facebook and sharing posts weekly.
Yep.
We're just getting our personality out there, and people are really digging it.
Yeah, it's weird when like you get like a comment or someone comes up to you and you're like, yo, that was really inspirational. I was like,
you're like,
I was in my car, like driving and going to a gig. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, it inspired me to go out and like do things. I'm like, cool.
Wait,
this is great.
Yeah. Can I just say like that is key. Like you need to get out of your house or your bubble and go do the things you love to do.
Or that make you uncomfortable. Like that's my big thing.
That will challenge you. Yeah.
Like I am very like I need to do things that are comfortable. I don't want to go outside of my comfort zone. Mm-hmm. But when I do, I don't ever regret it.
Yeah.
Never regret it. Some of these live Instagram posts. Like
I hate it.
This was something that this guy put a lot of work into. Like I'm going to be honest with you, dude. You weren't that approachable on camera, but
no, I hate it.
Now, I'm proud to say that this guy can sit in front of a camera right now and do a podcast.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's so totally taking it in a totally other place, right?
Everywhere.
No, and that's okay. And I know you had some topics, but I kind of I love the organic nature of this stuff, right? Because we're just having a conversation. Yeah. There just happens to be a whole bunch of lights and cameras around, but we're just talking, right? So it's when you think about that, like the anxiety levels that come with creatives. Like I recognize that there's a correlation there. Like I used to suffer real hard from anxiety.
Welcome to the club.
Super hard, right? And I found that to be true with most creatives, right? You tend to be a little bit more introverted.
Bro, this is an essential oil that I use for anxiety purposes.
Really?
Yeah, you want to smell it?
I kind of do.
Dude, it smells delicious.
This is called anxiety.
It's called anxiety? Yeah. Oh, no. That seems like it would be
counterproductive.
Oh. It smells good, right?
Yeah.
It's literally, it's a way to get your head out of that space, dude.
You'll sell it, dude.
Yeah. Well, I didn't make it. So.
Anxiety by JJ.
But it's Anxiety by JJ. Or it should be more like Anxiety by JJ. I think it's an interesting thing because, growing up, I was mostly introverted and I was a bit of a nomad. I did my own thing. I'm an artist. Oh, cool, leave me alone. Like I'm trapped in my own little. It's like, well, no, and you can't be that way, especially when I think about a wedding day, right? You're a creator on a wedding day.
Yeah.
If you are that way, nobody wants to be around you. And going back to what we were saying before, like, what's the difference between hiring you and you? It's like, I don't want to hire the guy that's introverted. I don't care if he's brilliant and if he's a savant, but I want someone that's a little bit more outgoing. You don't need to be the most outgoing person in the world, but I want someone that's going to be fun to be around.
Yeah.
And sometimes you kind of have to put on a little show, right?
Yeah.
And it's being comfortable enough to find that balance, right? To find a connection with someone, to be able to be playful and be fun, but also be aware of your surroundings and know, like,
People are going to
when's
feed
too
off
much.
that energy.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you're in the corner doing whatever, they're not going to feed off that. And if you're
They're gonna be like, this guy looks like he's bored. It's like, no, I'm not bored. I'm just anxious right now. It's like, I'm really excited to be here. It's like, well, you're not showing it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing that people struggle with. It's come up recently. You know, I participate in photo meets, and a lot of guys show up and they're shooting video. But
fun.
basically, so shout out to the Photo Plug. So if you guys don't, the Photo Plug, at the Photo Plug, they host a meet once a month where basically you just get a whole bunch of people together, like a whole bunch, like 200, 300 people get together, right?
And all with the same vision, creative people.
Photographers,
Awesome.
models, videographers, basically cover the majority of the attendees. And so many of those people are in the same space of like, oh, I don't want to approach this person. I don't want to, no, I don't want to, maybe, no, hey, can I, no, I don't want to, And that's a great space to try to break out of your shell, not only for approaching someone to say like, hey, can I shoot you? Can I take some pictures of you?
Yeah.
Literally working on communication skills, literally working on networking, because it's the perfect place. There's an immediate icebreaker to be like, oh, you shoot? Like, I shoot too. We should be friends.
Yeah.
And like, that's the thing, like I've talked about, when I have a camera in my hand, the anxiety just disappears.
It's a shield, bro.
It disappears. I can walk into a crowded room. Don't like crowds, but I have a camera in my hand. I'm the man.
Here's the thing, though. You got someone like us. We shoot video. We're literally trying to be incognito, invisible,
Right.
not there.
Right.
You got someone like Steve, who's got to then
Pose
dictate,
people.
like
move
what people need to do, move them, pose them, and sometimes you're dealing with people who are on alcohol because you're doing like at a wedding. You got sometimes you got 20 people. And they're not drunk, and they're not trying to listen. But you have to be personable, and then you have to give direction. And so, props to you, dude.
That brings up a story.
I tell him all the time, I'm so much happier that we chose video.
Yes.
I do not want to tell people what to do because it's just so hard. It's so hard.
So can I bring up a story? When we first started, I think it was our second wedding. Drunk dude just ran over, ripped out our lighting cable.
Oh yeah.
Whoa! It was like, turn this off.
That was our first wedding. That was
our first wedding.
And so, one thing: step outside of your comfort zone and like take risks.
Yeah.
Because they have the best stories. Because this is this is one of the best stories. Well, the first wedding that we shot, we put so much energy into.
Yeah.
And charged half the amount that we charge now.
Sure.
And didn't get everything. We only got the deposit.
Yeah.
They got divorced.
Learning.
They got divorced.
Oh, jeez.
Within a month, they never saw the work.
Oh,
but
no.
we were able to
learn
a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And embrace the creative side and just roll with what we didn't know what we were doing at all. Watched a ton of YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And then said, okay, wrote down in notes of what we were gonna do and just tried to.
We went from making
out.
skits to, this is real life.
Yeah.
This is real.
Redo this.
You definitely can't redo it. That's so. JJ, you brought up a couple of good points, right? One, right, the experience, and obviously you're going to remember the negative stuff.
Yeah.
But I talked about this with Will. Oh, look at that, Jeremy's hanging out. What's up, Jeremy?
Jeremy.
I was talking about this with Will, where you have to learn from those mistakes. Like that's all it is that. And basically the point that we made is if you're not making mistakes, you're not learning, right? So you made that mistake, and maybe don't call it a mistake, but you had that experience, and then you learn from it, right? And that's sort of this back and forth. I have this experience, I learn from it. Whether it's setting up a light when someone might not want a light setup, or a certain frame rate they shoot at, or the way that you handle business, or whether it's positioning or invoicing, all of that stuff, you do it, and then you learn from it.
Yeah.
And the other learning point that you brought up was YouTube videos, right? YouTube videos are fantastic. Love YouTube. Like, YouTube's great. And for those that are listening, you can find this podcast on YouTube. You just search for Steve Baldwin. So YouTube's great. So YouTube is fantastic, right, for learning, but it's sort of this limited learning, right? It's I'm recording something, I'm presenting it to you, that's it. Maybe you post a comment, maybe they get back to you, that's it. Versus actually seeing someone in person, right?
Yeah.
And learning from that kind of standpoint, where you can literally have that, direct feedback, that back and forth. So
don't you do workshops?
Oh, as a matter of fact, I do host workshops, John. It's interesting that you would mention that. For those that want to find my workshops, you can link. There's a link on my Instagram page that brings you over to my Eventbrite page. No, but I do. I host workshops,
and they're phenomenal.
And I wasn't even really setting up for that. I kind of was, but lighting workshops. So I want to teach people how to light, and there's only so much that you can learn from that. But the reason why I really bring it up is that you're learning that, and then you can just execute it the way that you process from that, right? So it's one thing to say, hey, let me try to be as prepared as I can be, and then now you go into the situation, right? No different than like a dude who's in the Air Force. You just got in the Air Force. Hey, I'm going to send you through training module after training module. I'm going to put you in whatever those centrifuge things are. You're going to experience the G-forces. It's going to be nothing except for when you're sitting in a cockpit and then you're thrown into the sky, right? Like that's now, oh shit, I gotta figure this out. Like, wait, what does this do? What does this do? No, it's your programming, call it, or your learning should hopefully take over. But you're not flying solo, right? There's probably a dude sitting behind you who's like, bro, we got this. It's all good. Now I kind of want to fly a fighter jet.
Yeah. And that's like the partnership is like, if I'm off one day.
Yeah,
this dude's like
co-pilot.
He's on, and like that's huge for us.
Yeah,
just having that, always having a backup. Person.
Yeah,
a backup person.
Yeah,
right.
And it sounds stupid, but it just
honestly, sometimes I go on jobs that don't require me to be there at all.
Yeah,
just to kind of take part in the experience.
Support.
Another eye.
Another eye. Feedback. Negotiating with, like, if the client's there, talking about future business, like that. I really believe in like utilizing people. Like always. You reading what he said?
Oh, you said. Oh yeah, I did. Cockpit.
Living in the cockpit.
He's reading some of the comments from.
Yeah, I'm just going through the comments for those who are listening to the podcast.
What's up, Brian?
I'm just going through those comments.
Brian's throwing them hearts out.
That's dope.
For those of you who don't know me.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Steve. No, I think it's good to have that, right? To have multiple eyes. Now, sometimes it can be distracting, but obviously when you're on the same team and you're going for the same thing, right?
Same mission,
especially if like you're shooting and the client's asking you questions, you don't want to be like, stop talking to me. I gotta do this.
Right.
It should be implied like, hey, I gotta do this. But if it's just you need to make sure you pause and, give that customer focus, as it were, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, I want to talk to you. Yeah, let's talk about this. Let me just make sure I can get the shot, and then let's talk about that.
And I've been on jobs by myself, and it's like, it takes twice as long because you're interacting with everything. You're doing the job. You're talking to the customer. You're talking to the talent. It's like,
Well, and that's why when you think about, a larger production, that's why you have a director, you have a producer, you have a DP, you have PAs. Like all of those people serve that purpose, and that you just got a boom guy like Shaver just hanging out. That's
see you later, Will.
Later, Will. Where you have someone's like, literally your job is to record audio. That's it. That's all you do. Record audio. Make sure audio is good. That's it. Done.
Can we talk about that? How
recording
audio can destroy your visuals?
That. Yeah,
so I've seen a lot of videos that are like gorgeous on mute.
It's right. It's what is it like? If you give me a crappy video but beautiful audio, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
If you give me crappy audio and a gorgeous video, I'm out.
I'm out. Done.
Right? I'm out. Right. You want to mute it. You want to just turn it off because you're like, these are beautiful visuals, and you screwed it with crappy audio. So hopefully those who are listening right now, this is nice, good audio. But it's being aware of that, and that's where. So there's always this trade-off, right? Where I think about, I primarily do stills, you guys primarily do video, right? And we both kind of cover the other area as well. And you start to see those things where you realize like, oh, this is a lot easier here, or this is a lot easier here, right?
Yeah.
When I think about shooting video on a wedding day, for me, it's like, and typically I'm second shooting for Will. That's a much easier day for me. Like, oh, cool, this is a much easier day versus being a photographer where I'm leading the show, I'm doing all the directing. Like, there's never downtime at all. Not to say there's a lot of downtime with video, but it's just different.
Yeah.
And even things like, well, video guys have much cooler gear than photo guys do. Like, you got cool stabilizers, you got cool rigs that you can have, audio recorders,
drones.
drones, but then you also have to deal with stabilizers, audio recorders, drones. Like, you have all this stuff that now you got to make sure it's charged. Now you got to make sure it's formatted.
It works.
And you got to have backups, right? Audio levels. Like, you can't just set one audio level. If someone starts talking really loud, you have to make sure that you're like all of these things that now it's like there's such a difference between those two worlds. Yeah, and just telling that story, like you were saying, JJ, right? It's telling a story with stills is totally different than telling a story with video. It's the same because you're using the same device, right? You're using a capture device, but it's a totally different story. So it's cool, but it's one of those things that for those that are listening and that are, whether they're doing video or you're doing stills and you want to kind of cross over, that's where I would start to go to YouTube. That's where I would start to do my research, participate in workshops, go to photo meets where you're going to sit and say like, hey man, what settings are you using? Hey, what's that? Why do you have that neutral density? What is that thing doing there? Why are you using that? Oh, cool. Here's why I'm using that. Here's why I'm doing that stuff. And I love sharing that. And I love, participating in any kind of educational sense that I can. Because anytime that I've had a really good experience, when I think about photographers that I know, Matt, and he's one that's going to be on the podcast soon, he's someone that's been able to support and share really good, like, valuable information with me, and did it without thinking, right? It was just like, hey man, let me just tell you this, like, and we do the same with ourselves, right? So it's having that foundation, having that network of people that you can rely on, and at the end of the day, right, is it business? Yeah. Right? Is there competition? Yeah. But why am I going to sit and be negative? I guess this caps out at an hour. Yeah.
Do you want to put it back on, or you?
Yeah, let's do that again. I'm going to share it. Right? Yeah, share it so people can watch it. Why not? Let's do another live.
Share it up.
We got booted. So we'll start here. Live connection. You're live now. Oh, hey. Are you following? Yeah, follow me. Join that, and then I'll add you.
Follow me.
Boom. Boom. Alicia's still hanging out. What's up, Alicia? Sorry, there was a slight interruption there. The live video caps us at 1 hour. Here's an analog wave. Yeah.
Woo! But Steve, like, going off of that, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
If so a lot of the big moves that we've made have come from learning what someone said and being actionable, right? Yeah. So a lot of people I know, and it's kind of frustrating, a lot of people I know are creative and they're really good at what they do. Yeah. But when someone gives them that feedback or gives them some information for them to develop better,
they shut down.
They need to be actionable on it, right? And so a lot of the things, like we're talking about, Matt gave me some really good advice that I will use for the next job that I do that is relative towards that. Yeah. But there are a lot of things that people tell you and you're like, oh yeah, it's a really good idea, but you don't do any action, right? Like, so you should really, if you see someone doing something that you think is great, you should probably ask them how they do that and then try to implement that same thing into your life, Right.
That's a great point. And sometimes you will encounter people that are receptive to that, because at the end of the day, in what we do, the secrets are gone. Like, there really aren't any secrets in this industry. Like, maybe there's a couple, but that's on like a super high level, I would imagine.
You won't see any videos that say, hey, I'm Steve Walter, buy my subscription to learn the secrets of what I have. They're all over the internet. You can find them.
It's there. You could Google the stuff. You could find the stuff if you want to. Now, there is a difference, I think, when it comes down to trust, right, in certain people, right? So there's value to that. But like, why wouldn't I tell you what I did? Why wouldn't I tell you the settings I use? Cool. And if that helps you, awesome. But at the end of the day, to your point, it's going to come down to you being actionable upon that, right? Okay, I do this all the time where I'm looking at a photo and I reverse engineer it. I try to figure out, okay, what was the focal length? Where did they have their light? Like, what maybe aperture were they using? Like, I try to reverse engineer to figure out how did they do that? And then I'll try to recreate that. And if I can, cool. If I can't, then it's, okay, there's something that I need to learn from. Yeah. But it's taking that to the next step versus just looking at it and going, I wonder how they did that. And then letting that just kind of run out of your head. Because a big part of what we're doing and what people do, call it good and bad, is you see a trend and you're like, oh, that's cool. I want to learn how to do that. Yeah. And then you do it. And then so does everyone else. And that's what develops, that's what creates a trend. Now, what's interesting, and Carlos brought this up, what defines a trend now is what you see in your feed. So what makes this that kind of next level is what I experience as trendy things you guys might not experience, because as you're scrolling through your feed, you're gonna see, oh, this guy's doing the same thing, because you're following the things that you're attracted to. If you're not attracted to the same things that I'm attracted to, the trends that I see are different from the trends that you see versus this person, you know, it's so interesting to think about that. I'm getting deep right now, but it's so interesting to think about that. What influences you? Right. And then how do you make that actionable? How do you say, okay, this is a really cool technique. I like this. I want to do something with it. And then maybe everyone else is doing it, but you don't know, or maybe everyone else is doing it, and then that's all you see. So it's basically my point of that is, if you see something that you're attracted to and you want to create it, do it. Yeah. Like 100% do it. Now, if that becomes your thing, then awesome, embrace that, right? But if it's not, if it's just something that you wanted to do and experience, great.
Like that's a big thing. Like whatever, like I trust, you go back to trust. Like if you share something, I'm more engaged and likely to look at that. Or if he shares something, or if he posts something, you're more likely to see that than if my mom posts something. Sure. I'm not going to, I mean, unless it's hilarious, but.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Ma.
Yeah, it's like, Ma.
Thanks, Ma. So no, I think it's really cool that the time that we're in, where we have all of that, we're overwhelmed with all of this content, and it's cool that you can process all of this stuff and you can learn from all these areas. But when you can, try to focus in on, pun intended, the things that are true to you. Right. My buddy Mike Falzone shared that with me. Was like, basically, it's like be true to what you're doing. And to your point, you mentioned it too. He said the same thing, is that like an audience will follow, right? When you're true, and call it consistent. But basically, when you're true to what you want to be as an artist and as a creator, then you will generate an audience, you will generate a customer. Versus if you're just trying to keep up with what's happening right now,
you're always going to be playing catch up.
You're always going to be doing that. And then I think what happens is that those people then kind of tend to fall off, because they're like, oh no, this isn't in it for me. It's oh no, that wasn't what I thought it would be. It's trying to kind of stay, not to do just one thing, but to stay true to who you are.
And we've known people that, well, we started video 10 years ago.
More than that.
Yeah, more than that.
Because I'm 28, so I probably started at 15 years old.
And there's probably been, I can name like dozens of people that bought a camera, did this, and they're just like, nah, it's not for me.
No, they bought way better equipment than what we had.
They ride the wave.
Sure.
They make a few videos, and that's...
And they're out.
Dude, I know that we talked about this recently. We probably made over 700 videos, like, together.
That's nuts.
And
that's a lot. That's a lot of
content. And honestly, dude, we've made almost 300 of those videos have been business videos. But before that, it's just about practicing. Like, dude, a lot of the times that we were shooting things, it was with an effect in mind, or a test of something, just like you with the light. Like, practice will make you better, or close to perfect if it's something like basketball shot or something like that. But
practice makes permanent.
Permanent. I like that one.
Practice makes permanent.
You just need to continue to do it. You don't give up on something you really care about, and you can find something new all the time. Like, I'm always finding a new transition, a new plugin, some new version of color, like color correction I want to do, or a camera effect. There's always something, and 10 years later, I'm still using some of the effects that I practiced when I was, when I was 15, 16 years old.
Yeah, that's a great point, to know that, there are these things that are going to come up. There are these things that might inspire you, right, to try to do something different. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the story. What are the tools and the techniques that you need to tell that story? And then that almost becomes, the broad word would be timeless, right? Like, for me, when I think about the trend right now in editing videos, are these kind of spinny, loopy things where there's a transition where you spin and loop in and out, and then a lot of times you'll see it and you're like, wow, that was really effective. Like, that was cool the way you did that. But then other times I just see it and I'm like, why did you do that? And to me,
use it for every cut. What is going on?
If you're doing it right, for me, a good video is if you can just cut. That's all you need. If I watch a movie, you know how many of those transitions you see in Hollywood films?
Zero.
Maybe Star Wars, they still do that old school wipe, right? And they still kind of do some of those, because that's going back to what they did in the 70s.
Nostalgic.
But really, they just cut. You just cut. So when I think about that stuff, it's like, that stuff's cool. I want to play with that. I'm like, it's not going to help my story. It's not going to make me a better filmmaker. It's just a tool that might help inspire me and maybe might help tell that story a little bit better. But at the end of the day, I just need to cut. That's it. So before we wrap this up, any final thoughts? Where can people find you, first of all? Let's do some plugs.
Yeah, plugging. HelloMeFilms.com.
Sorry, I'm just going to interrupt you because Mike's, you nerds talking about Star Wars. Dude, we were just talking about Star Wars.
We were talking about
the
Star
transitions, the little white transitions. But sorry, yeah, where can we find you guys?
So, HelloMeFilms.com.
Boom.
Instagram at HelloMeFilms.
Boom.
And Facebook.com/HelloMeFilms.
Yeah.
All
Sweet.
of them.
And then you guys individually, do you guys want to plug your own pages?
Yeah. So I'm at John Depp.
Yep.
1P.
I'm at JJ Duran.
Dope.
2 Ds.
Cool.
2 Ds.
I would say this: if you guys are looking for real estate videos or photography, that's where we're at. If you guys are looking for weddings, that's where we're at. Promotional videos, we pretty much will take anything because that's what we love to do. We just love to shoot video.
Yeah.
We love to put you guys in front of the camera most of the time.
Yeah.
Hence the hello me.
Yeah.
Dope. Thank you guys for coming out. I'm glad we got to do this. And I realized that, you had all these talking points, all these things. You're like,
We hit them.
And we probably did in some way, but I really like that we just kind of let it kind of go.
Yeah.
Hey, I would like to say one more thing.
Yeah, please.
If there's anyone who's looking to learn anything about video production, reach out to us because we love to take on interns. We love to give those experiences to you guys.
Oh, that's a great point. Not to drag this out, but yeah, interning, right? When you think about like, how do I get involved in this? How do I start out in this? Interning is still a thing.
Yeah.
Interning and the apprenticeship can still exist. And at the end of the day, a lot of people will sit and say, well, you're not paying me. Yeah, you're getting paid with knowledge, dude.
Yeah.
Like if you want to do this and you don't have any context, go there, help someone, support someone. And you're making connections, but really you're experiencing what a real production looks like. Even if it's on a small scale, like this is how it's done. So I think that's
which is invaluable.
It really is. It's knowledge. I mean, no different than you watching it on YouTube. Well, very different from watching it on YouTube. You're there. You're physically there. You're experiencing it. You're smelling it.
Yeah.
You're hearing it.
Tasting
you're seeing it. You're sometimes tasting it.
But it also creates this sense of, I'm going to go do this, even though the outcome is not with money.
Yeah.
Therefore, you're able to take those risks, maybe sometimes with business, and those risks for us turned into trips to LA, to San Francisco, to Disney. Free trips, like paid trips by other companies because I was able to take that risk into saying I'm going to try this out.
Yeah, opportunities there.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you guys.
Thanks, man.
All right, guys. Thanks.
And we're out. Woo! Thank you guys for hanging out in the live. I know some of you. Carlos, we gave you a little shout out. Carlos, I was giving you the shout out for what we were talking about with trends.
Carlos.
What defines a trend? So make sure you check out this podcast. This is part of season 2.
I saw my future mother-in-law somewhere.
So thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for sharing, contributing. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right, guys.
Bye.